What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, directed by David Fincher, starring Brad Pitt, Kate Blanchett, and Taraji P. Henson. Okay, so my general thoughts on Benjamin Button. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Uh, Unlike David Fincher's previous works, this is not a hard-boiled psychological thriller. This movie does not have a dark and brooding storyline. It has a what I like to call a light, somber storyline to it. This is a romantic fantasy drama, and it's about a man named Benjamin Button who was born old and then he ages in reverse as the years and decades goes on. And I enjoyed this movie a lot. I'm very selective when it comes to romantic dramas because some of them can be really really cheesy, and then some of them can just be unwatchable. Benjamin Button is one of those romantic dramas that is easily one of the best I've seen as someone who's not a big fan of the genre in general. But since it's made by a filmmaker who I have a lot of respect for and a lot of appreciation for, he made a serious movie, and he made a really damn good movie. He kept a very light, somber tone throughout the film. He got the best out of his actors. Performance wise, this movie is fantastic. Brad Pitt as Benjamin Button does an excellent job. I like seeing him. I like seeing him progress from being an old man to a young man. And Brad Pitt's performance throughout the film is very consistent. I like seeing him, learn things. I like the relationships he has. My favorite relationships is the one he has with the character Queenie, played by Taraji P. Henson, who plays his adopted mother. I think that Brad and Taraj had a very good chemistry with one another, and there's a genuine love that Queenie has for Benjamin Button, and she does view him as her son, and vice versa for Benjamin Button viewing her as his mother. And I thought they played really really well off one another, and this I would have liked to have seen a little bit, maybe some more scenes, but I think this movie gave me enough scenes and sold me enough that to make this relationship work, and it does work for me. I really like it a lot. Another relationship that I liked, I thought was really well handled, is the love interest. Kate Blanchett plays this character called Daisy, and I really like the budding romance between her and Benjamin Button, from when they were younger all the way to when they get old, all the way to when to when she gets older, and they have a child together. I thought their relationship was really well handled. You know, it's a romantic drama, so you're gonna get the cheese, the basic things with it. Boy loves girl, boy can't stay with girl, he has to go off and run off and do something. Boy comes back to see girl, finds out girl's with someone else, boy runs off again, blah 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 blah. You know the gist of a romantic drama. But the way David Fincher handles it, to me, he handles it in a much more mature way, and not this flimsy teenage way. You know, they feel like adults when they're doing these things. And Benjamin Button, whenever he runs off, he's running off to do something. Like when he first runs off, he's actually running off to become a seaman, and ends up being involved in World War II. Speaking of which, I actually like the scenes with him as a shipmate. Jared Harris plays the ship's captain, Captain Mike. I thought he was hilarious and hysterical, and I really like his death scene. The death scene he shares with Benjamin Button. It was a really really nice emotional scene, and I really like the chemistry between Brad Pitt and Jared Harris. They have a lot of funny moments together, and I got a kick out of it. I thought it was pretty good. I also like Jason Fleming, who plays Benjamin's father, the man who abandoned him. I like how when Benjamin gets older, you know, his father Thomas just finds him, just sees him out of the blue, and they have a budding connection that plays throughout the film as well. To eventually Thomas reveals to Benjamin that he's actually his father, and you get the whole I can't why didn't you tell me sort of thing, blah stuff like that. But Benjamin accepts it fairly quickly, I think, and which I appreciate. I don't need a good chunk of the movie being Benjamin like resisting the fact that Thomas is dead. I like how he quickly accepts it, and to me it just makes the movie flow much better that way. And I like the scenes between them two. They're very emotional scenes, and I really like the Thomas's death scene as well. But I also like how he shows him the family business, and again I like how they have a budding friendship, if you will. So that stuff is well handled. Sorry, excuse me. From a production side, I think this movie is meticulously well made. The set designs look fantastic. I like how Fincher was able to capture every single time period. He captured, the 1920s. He captured the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. I thought he captured it all fairly well, and it looks genuine for me. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot, and I'm a sucker for period piece movies as well. This movie doesn't have a whole lot. This movie does not have any action in it, but there is one action scene that is kind of intense, and it's when Benjamin is on the seaman's boat, right? And Captain Mike's boat is being used as a Navy vessel pretty much for World War II, and they come under siege by a German U-boat, and it's a pretty intense scene. It actually leads to the death of Captain Mike and the sinking of the boat itself, and that's a really good scene. I really like it a lot. I also like how this movie has some intercut going on. When it first opens up, it takes place in 2005, and we see an older Daisy on her deathbed with her daughter, and this movie is told via flashback, with Daisy's daughter Caroline reading her Benjamin's diary, and that's how the events all coincide. And I also like this little pre-story that Daisy tells Caroline, because it kind of runs parallel with Benjamin Button's character. So pretty much, there was this guy called Mr. Gatto who built this clock, but he built it in reverse, and he did it as a way as to pay tribute for those who've gone on to war, and he did it in reverse as a way to have them come back to everyone alive. And I like how that parallels Benjamin Button. This guy Gatto built a clock in reverse. Benjamin ages in reverse. So I thought that was a nice little, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what it is, but you can tell me in the comments if you know what it is. But a parallel. It's a nice little parallel story. So I like all that stuff as well. I really like the ending of this movie. This movie does not have a happy ending. It has a very somber ending, and I like it for it. And it stays consistent with David Fincher's previous works, because Fincher is not known for having these happy Hollywood endings. He has these very somber endings, and this is one of those movies with a very somber ending. Benjamin Button, again, as I said earlier, he ages in reverse. So after he and Daisy have a baby, he leaves because he does not feel, since with his condition, he does not want to have Daisy carry the burden of having not only to raise their daughter, but to essentially raise him and take care of him once he starts to de-age more rapidly. So he runs off. But eventually he comes back, and when he comes back, Daisy's already married, and unbeknownst to Caroline, the man that her mother's married to is portraying her father, though it's his stepfather. But I like how Daisy takes care of Benjamin in his remaining years. We see Benjamin as a teen, then we see him progress to a toddler, till he progresses as a newborn infant, and that's when he dies in Daisy's arms. It's a very, very emotional, very powerful scene. It's a very sad scene as well, and it carries a whole lot of weight. And I like how we get to that final scene with Daisy in the hospital bed, where she looks out the window, sees a bunch of chaos going on with Katrina. She just looks out the window and says, "Good night, Benjamin." It's very emotional, very powerful stuff, and I really like it a lot. It's not hokey, and it fits in so well with the movie like this. So yeah, I was not expecting to like this movie as much as I did, but I actually really enjoyed The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Now, there's a lot more things I could get into, but those are just my general thoughts of this movie and what I feel about it, and I really like it a lot, which is why I'm going to give this thing a solid 8 out of 10. It does have some things in it that I would have changed a little bit. Like, this movie does run a little too long. I would have maybe shaved off maybe 15-20 minutes and just have it be more streamlined. But since Fincher is really good at keeping the pace, this movie is well paced for its long length, so I give it that. There's a couple of things I would have did more extensions with here and there, but overall, this is a very solid movie. It's a good story, and as someone who's not a big fan of romantic dramas, I highly recommend it, not only as a David Fincher film, but as a good romantic drama film. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. If you like or hate this movie, let me know in the comment sections below. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll check you back next time for more.